The term culture originates from the Latin word cultivate. Communities are generally made up of people who share cultural characteristics. These cultural characteristics are defined by various influences, including geographical, spiritual, and agricultural considerations. Certain cultures impose distinct limitations or boundaries that make them unique. The purpose of this program is to introduce you to the most interesting and unique cultures from around the world. It is said that whomever has been to India for less than 3 months might as well have not been there. Let us then explore at least 2 of India's long list of remarkable places. First, we will go to Bombay, the past and current gateway to India. It is both the wealthiest and most expensive city in India. After that, we will travel to the state of West Bengal, which stretches from the shores of the Indian Ocean all the way to the foothills of the Himalayas. The sun rises above the Indian port of Bombay, its rays reflecting impressively off the surface of the Arabian Sea. If we wish to be perfectly precise, we would have to say the Indian port of Mumbai, because in 1995, the government decided to give Bombay its old name back. The locals believe that the restored name freed India from the colonial burden which had for decades dominated India through the gates of Bombay. The name Mumbai is apparently derived from the name of the goddess Mumba. Since the Middle Ages, the Mumba temple, the largest in India, was the guardian of the port. Thanks to its strategic position, the port has always been a busy business center for merchants from all over the country. That business activity mostly centered around the cotton trade, which is still India's main export. The Sassoon Dock, the largest local fishing quay, lies in the southern part of the port. The quay was established at the end of the 19th century by the well-established Jewish Sassoon family. The descendants of the well-known Kohli fishing clan unload their catch here every day and sell it at the nearby fishing market. Every single day of the year, from dusk till dawn, fresh and delicious fish from the Arabian Sea are sold here in uneasy conditions. Salt and ice help to keep the seafood fresh until it's cooked by a Bombay restaurant or household. The best place to taste the local catch is the Mahesh Lunch Home restaurant. The chef's specialty is lobster. First, the delicacy is cut into portions and then cooked in a mixture of pepper, garlic, and curry sauce. It is a southern Indian recipe which is renowned for its seafood cuisine. The lovely smell of choice meals is replaced by the scent of fresh laundry that seems close by. The Mahalakshmi Ghat is the second largest laundry in Asia. As is the custom in Asian countries, since laundering is considered hard labor, women rarely work in the laundry. Judge for yourself. 8,000 people called Dobi toil here 16 hours a day for pay equivalent to just under $3. This laundry caters to hotels and hospitals as well as households. Each Dhobi has his own client and his own system of secret marking to distinguish what belongs to whom. The markings are so ingenious that they were once used to help track down a criminal. Laundry is often dyed here too. This work is no less tiring, and the Dhobi must spend the day standing in chemicals and water. The scorching tin rooftops serve as efficient dryers for the laundry. Exposed to the baking Bombay sun, the textiles dry within an hour. Shops like the Bourgeois Market, selling stunning embroidered saris, ensure that there is plenty of laundry to wash. Should you find it difficult to make up your mind, a private fashion show with professional models is here to help you. The most expensive sari is one embroidered with precious stones. To create this sari, it took 12 seamstresses working for 6 months. The price for this sari is $2,000. Such beautiful fabrics are only worn at special occasions, such as a visit to the temple. There are many Hindu temples and shrines in Bombay. This one is devoted to the god Shiva, who enjoys a significant position in the Hindu pantheon. He is regarded by his followers both as the creator as well as destroyer of the world. Shiva's wife, the goddess Durga, surrounded by children, is also present in this temple. During the Aratha ceremony, the visitors of the temple pay their respects not only to Shiva, but also to his loyal helper, the bull Nandin. He grants their secret wishes in return for receiving sacrificial gifts. The ceremony has a 3,000-year tradition. It includes the faithful offering ghee lamps and fresh flowers to the gods. Life in Bombay is not all about religious rituals and back-breaking labor. The locals are just as passionate about sports. The sport of cricket is to the people of India like ice hockey is to Canadians or football is to Europeans. Even little children know the names of the important players. Everyday life, more or less, ceases to exist for the duration of important international matches. In March of 2011, The cricket match between India and Pakistan helped ease the tense international relations between the two countries. Each evening, the best-known beach in Bombay, Chowpatty, transforms into one huge amusement park for boys and girls of all ages. There are carousels fueled by human power, all manner of games, and the smell of freshly popped popcorn. People of Bombay come here for a walk or take a swim in the Arabian Sea. Sometimes sailors with their boats in preparation for an upcoming busy day head down here to have a swim. When visiting India, if one fails to include Bombay on the agenda, it would be the equivalent of leaving out the Eiffel Tower when in Paris or the Colosseum in Rome. The pearl of the western coast of India, the city that never sleeps, definitely deserves the attention. India, however, is a land of many faces, and as such, it would be wise to try and discover at least one more. In the second half of this episode, we will head over to the colorful world of West Bengal. The Hindu gods and their homeland have many faces. Join us on a trip through West Bengal. Our mode of transport will include taxi, tram, and in the end, a Himalayan bird, the legendary locomotive that has been transporting passengers to the roof of the world for over 100 years. But before we end up in Darjeeling enveloped in the scent of tea, we head to the mother of all Indian rivers, the Ganges. Our pilgrimage begins in the West Bengal capital, Calcutta, on the shores of the river Hooghly, which is the western shoulder of the Ganges Delta. The people believe the water is sacred and can be used to wash off all that is impure and turn death into life. The river fulfills more than a ritual role. Its water is also used for cooking, personal hygiene, laundry, even dishwashing. The locals are convinced that the mud in the river also has magical powers. As such, they believe the water has a special composition, making it bacteria-proof. Most likely, the only protection the people have from the pathogenic-infested water is simply their deep faith. But it's not just the waters of the river Ganges that unite the Hindus with their deities. A more peaceful and far less hygienically challenged meditation site is the Kali Ghat, the shrine of the goddess Kali, who gave Calcutta its name. The cruel Kali is often depicted dancing on the dead body of Siva, whom she killed to prove that all lives must die. The temple's pool is used for rituals. A pilgrim washes here before stepping in front of the goddess. It is said that when her body was diced as punishment, one of her fingers landed right here. As do most of the Indian deities, the frightening Kali has many faces. She gives the faithful strength to fight the demons of the universe and thus protects their families. In return, the visitors of the temple come bearing gifts, which they lay at the feet of her god husband, Shiva. Yellow taxis, made by the Hindustan Motors Company, are the traditional as well as historical means of transportation in the busy streets of Calcutta. The body of the Ambassador model is based on the famous British Morris Oxford Series 3 car from the mid-50s. Needless to say, many of the vehicles are just as old. The taxi ride will cost 13 cents per kilometer, which is a small fortune for the locals. For this reason, the taxi drivers are often forced to wait in endless queues in the tiring heat. Obviously, the cars have no air conditioning. That was unheard of in the 1950s. Another museum-type exhibit that is still in service is the Calcutta tram. Calcutta is the last city in India that operates a tram. Its extinction was imminent here too in the 1990s, and many links were cancelled. Fortunately, the tram survived, ensuring that this romantic symbol of Calcutta, together with the yellow taxis, still thrives. A ride on the tram costs half a cent. There are separate seats for the ladies and gentlemen. It is time to leave the delta of the river Ganges and head to the north, to Darjeeling. The railway journey is just as stylish. The railway was built by the British at the end of the 19th century. The railway cut down the time needed to travel from the state's capital to the north from 6 days to just 1. The Himalayan bird, the oldest original steam locomotive that travels to the roof of the world, still flies up and down the steep mountain slopes. This unique, more than 100-year-old locomotive still transports passengers in its 3 carriages to and from Siliguri to Darjeeling. The train twists and turns through myriad curves in between the steep slopes of the Himalayas. The elevation difference on the nearly 90 kilometers track is over 2,000 meters. The railway still operates just as it has for decades. Smoldering embers are picked up off the tracks to be reused in the boiler. The entire railway, including this grandmother of all locomotives, has been included on the UNESCO National Heritage List. Mount Everest gleams in the morning sun as it stands majestically above Darjeeling. The original name of the city was Darjeeling, which directly translates to a stormy place. It was thus named due to the local climate and because of the continuous battles between the local inhabitants and the British. The British elite living in Calcutta were so happy with the building of the railway system, they chose to build what has now become a famous spa. But true world fame only came to Darjeeling through tea. The greatest wealth of West Bengal grows on 86 plantations. Only the top young leaves are collected from the thick tea bushes. The collection of tea leaves is a job exclusively for women. When it comes to tea leaf collection, men have easier and better paying jobs. They supervise and evaluate the work of the women. On a daily basis, each woman must collect at least 8 kilograms of tea leaves during the tea picking season. Only then will she receive her full day's pay, $1. The best collectors manage to collect up to 80 kilograms a day. The tea leaves are processed in one of the nearby tea factories. The Puttabong Tea Estate is the oldest such factory. The tea leaves are dried in shallow troughs, which is meant to reduce the humidity. The next step is pressing, which ensures that the cell walls of the tea leaves are broken, allowing the juice to the surface. The leaves are usually pressed twice before going through the next step. The leaves are then fermented through hot air. During this process, the leaves turn from green to brown, and their characteristic taste and scent are enhanced. The leaves pass through a hot air chamber set to 60 degrees Celsius during the last phase of the fermentation process. The final step involves the crushing and separating into various qualities. The tea dust that is swept off the floors is used in the manufacture of tea bags. Merchants and tea connoisseurs alike agree that no other tea tastes quite as good as the tea from Darjeeling. That is why it is often referred to as the champagne among teas. In its worldwide exportation, the price can go as high as $220 per kilogram. "80% of India's population practice the Hindu faith. Even so, India is the home of yet another important religion, Buddhism. Buddhism originated in northeast India in the 5th century BC. The Tibetan monks, who are the modern-day keepers of the faith, were chased by the Chinese from their homeland in the 1950s in an attempt to suppress the Buddhist faith. Among other places, the monks found asylum in the ancient temple Samtem Choling. It belongs to the Gelugpa sect, whose followers practice Vajrayana Buddhism. The monks live here from age 6 to 60. Their main activity is meditation and reciting of religious texts. His Holiness the Dalai Lama is the highest political as well as spiritual authority of Tibet. He gives strength and hope to the inhabitants of this asylum. This center was established in 1959 as a place for escapees from occupied Tibet. The main source of income of this center is the products of local workshops. The quality of locally produced, handmade carpets and their artistic arrangements are renowned. The income generated flows directly to the Tibetan community, which enforces the rights of exiled Tibetans living in India. Night closes in over Darjeeling, and our journey slowly comes to an end. We bid farewell to West Bengal, the land of friendly people and ancient traditions, whose borders reach from the Bay of Bengal all the way to the Himalayas. It is a country where you can inhale the scent of times long gone and taste the best tea in the world. In today's episode of Unusual Cultures, we unveiled a few of the faces of colorful and culturally rich India, which we traversed from its shores to the very rooftop of the world. Next time, we will head off to Europe, where the traditional Isle of Man, an island whose parliament congregates on a meadow among sheep, awaits. We will continue inland on the continent, where we will search for Count Dracula deep in the Transylvanian Alps as we listen to the wild rhythms of the gypsies.